Hello and welcome back to Minder. I can already tell that this video is gonna be super long, so buckle up besties, we're gonna be here for a while. This year, Minder is having an enormous change, and I think you're gonna find it just as exciting as we do. Minder started off as like a friendly competition between me, my cousin, and my best friend, and it has kind of like evolved a little bit over the years, but nothing like this year. This year, we really changed it completely. We wanted to make it more immersive and more engaging with people who might want to join us on this. I also wanted to kind of stray away from the idea of it being a competition and focus more on the idea of it being a challenge. So that's one of the big main things, is that this is not a competition. It already wasn't a competition last year, and it's not going to be a competition this year. Minder is, for all its purpose, is to just be something that motivates people to read and makes reading fun. That's the main purpose of Minder. Also, a big difference this year is that whereas last year it was already open to the public, it was just kind of like something that was happening. Like, I wasn't really doing any specific content for it. I wasn't talking about too much on my socials. It was something that I mentioned like very sporadically, and this year that's changing. We're gonna get way more focused content on Minder, including monthly videos for it, dedicated live streams, as well as talking about it, like using templates and stuff on my socials like Instagram and stuff, probably also TikTok. So there's just gonna be a lot. There's gonna be a lot going on. As a way of also making this more engaging with the audience, I'm also gonna be checking in with everyone at the end of every month. So because Minder is a reading challenge that goes throughout the entire year from January to December, I'm gonna be checking in like at the end, probably on Discord and on Instagram. Most likely I'll be checking in with everyone, seeing where everyone is at, how many points you have, how many books you've read, how you're finding it, if you need any help with anything. So keep an eye out for that on Discord for sure. The link is on my description. There will also be an Excel sheet this year. So you might have heard me talk slightly last year about how all three of us have an Excel, like a combined Excel sheet where we take note of everything and he notes down our points. Well, this year, everyone's gonna have an Excel sheet, and it is it is something, okay? I'm gonna do a dedicated video on how to use that Excel sheet, just in case there's people here who don't understand how Excel works. To be fair, this is a very complex Excel sheet. Claudia was the one that made it, like she's done for the past 2 years, 3 years. But she really stepped up her game this year. Like, she had to program inside Excel for this. So it's a lot. So I will be doing a video explaining how to use it. Just in case someone doesn't know, it will be linked on the card, or either here or here. You'll see it. It's there. Now, you might be thinking, what did you change that it requires for Claudia to program in Excel? Like, what is going on? Well, I don't think you're ready for this, but Minder is now a board game. I am so excited to announce this. It is a board game. This is what the board looks like. I've made it in paper, but you don't need to make it in paper if you don't want to. But if you do want to make this in paper, I'm also gonna link a little video that I made explaining how to do this. But if you don't want to, you don't need to, because this board game is on the Excel sheet. And you can literally move your little piece on the Excel board game, and you can press on the cards, and it will give you the challenges. As you can see, like, I don't have the cards here, only the little spaces for them, but I have the little cards down here just because it was not easy to show, but there you go. Those are that ones. We got the Jinx cards, which are gonna go there. You see, you get the feel, right? You get the gist. So let's talk more about this. How does this work? Let's talk about it, shall we? To start off, everyone's gonna have 12, I don't know what I was doing with my hands, 12 initial challenges. So last year we had 24, this year we're bringing it down to 12. And the reason for that is because we're gonna have a lot of extra challenges on like the board game itself. So it wouldn't make too much sense for us to have a big number of initial challenges because it just wouldn't be doable. So we're gonna have 12 initial challenges that you need to complete throughout the whole year. Now, let me tell you what challenges those are, and you can write them down. They are also on the Excel sheet where you can like tick them off as you make them, or you can just write them in case you want to put this on like a bullet journal, a reading journal, whatever it is. So let me find the place it is on this PDF that I've made for this. Oh, also the PDF that I'm referencing, it's gonna be on my Discord as well as the Excel sheet. The Excel sheet is also gonna be on Discord. So if you haven't joined my Discord yet, maybe this is now the time. It will be on the description of this video. So let's go over the 12 initial challenges, shall we? We decided to keep the birthday challenges that we had for the past 2 years just because we really like them. So we decided to keep them. So for June, my cousin is going to choose the book that everyone's going to read. In July, I'll be choosing the book for everyone to read. And on December, Claudia will be choosing the book for everyone to read. So for those, you're gonna have to wait for us to decide which books we're gonna read for that. We haven't decided anything yet. Obviously, it's still the beginning of the year. But I will keep you updated on Discord and on Instagram stories. So keep an eye out for that. And now the remaining challenges for these 12 initials are challenges where you can read anything. You kind of just need to find a book that fits into this challenge. So we have book whose author's name is your first name. So it's a little similar to one we had last year. We had the first letter of the title had to be the first letter of your name. So like for example, I did Daisy Jones and the Six last year. This year is a little different. It's that author's name. So if, for example, me, I'm called Daniela, so the author needs to be called Daniela. Obviously, like you can go for similar names. Claudia and I were talking about this, like for Daniela, for example, in English, that it's not spelled the same way as my name is. So in English, it might be spelled with 2 L's instead of just 1 L. Or it might be spelled with 2 L's and an E at the end instead of an A. So you can go for variants, but overall, it needs to be your name. Then we have a book by an author who was born on the same year as you. Very exciting. Now we have another little bit of a variant on a challenge that we had last year. Whereas last year we had a book with an animal on the cover, this year is book with your favorite animal on the cover. So it adds an extra layer, you know? Because for me, for example, it's either gonna be dogs or raccoons. Now dogs might be easy to find, raccoons? Probably not so much. So it really adds an extra layer to it. Next one is book whose title is your favorite color. For this, you have 2 options. The title can be your favorite color, like actually be your favorite color, or it could be that your color is in the title. I'm basically saying the same thing. What I'm trying to say, let me grab a book. Okay, I have a book. It'll be easier to show it this way. Okay, so as you can see, this book, the title is white, right? So the title would need to be your favorite color. So for me, for example, he would have to be green. In case you hadn't noticed, like everything in this channel is green. So yeah, it would have to be green. Or if the title has the word green on it, that could also work. So for example, I cannot think of any book that has a color on the title, but there's plenty. Isn't there one called The Color Purple or something? So you see what I mean? It can either be your favorite color or it can have your color, like the word on the title, and it still counts. Then we have book whose main character's name is the first name of a person you're a fan of. So the main character of the story, for example, on this one, it would be Aristotle or Dante. They're the 2 main characters. If you're an Aristotle fan, like if you stan the philosopher Aristotle, then you could use this, you know? So for me, it would be probably something like Sabrina. So I'm gonna have to find a book whose main character is called Sabrina. You see? It's that type of thing. Then we have book whose author is a nationality you've never read before. Then we have draw a number and read the corresponding book from your TBR. We're really trying to make you read your physical TBR this year. Then we got a book you meant to read last year but didn't have time to. And lastly, a book with a minority group that you don't know much about. And those are the 12 initial challenges. So now let's talk about what's on the rest of this board, because there's a lot more. There is a lot more, as you can see. So you might notice there are some question marks all around. There is also a Jinx challenge and extra challenges and help. So, what are these? Let's talk about them, shall we? So, to start off, we need to talk about how you move on the board and how to move on the board. So, you might notice that there is a start square, but there isn't a finish square. Because the idea with this is you start, but you only end once you're ready to end. Like, once it gets to the last day of December, that's when you end this. You don't just do the 20 squares and then end it. You just keep going. There's 20 squares, so if you read 20 books and you're all the way back on the starting point, you just keep going. Just keep going around and around and around. You're always gonna start here, but you can choose whether you want to go this way or this way. It's completely up to you. You're the one that decides. Now, how do you move on this board? Do you need a dice? No, you don't need a dice for this. Basically, the way you move is you start here. For you to move, let's say, to this square afterwards, so for you to move from here to here or from here to here, whatever you prefer, you need to read a book. So once you've read a book, you can move squares. So to go from here to here, for example, you read a book. Then from here to here, another book. Here to here, another book, and so on and so forth. And that's how it works. Now, once you land on one of these squares that has stuff written on it, it means that you're gonna need to take a card, a corresponding card. So if you land on the question mark, you're gonna need to take a question mark card, one of these. If you land on a extra challenge, then you're gonna need to take an extra challenge. If you land on the Jinx, then you're gonna need to take a Jinx. Now, we've made enough challenges for you to be able to go around a few times on the board without repeating challenges. So unless you read like 200 books, I think you're good. I don't think you're gonna run out of challenges. At least we hope so. Because there is 3 extra challenges on the board, and the board has 20, so that's 20 books, right, that you would have to read to go over. And we have, I believe, 15 extra challenges, so you have room. You can go around the board multiple times, like 5 times. So you see the gist. Yeah. So now let's talk about what these actually mean. So let's start with the extra challenges, shall we? Extra challenges, as the name suggests, are extra challenges. They're gonna add to those 12 initial challenges that you have. The difference is that you have 2 weeks to complete the challenge that you take out. So instead of taking the challenge and having the whole year to finish it, you're only gonna have 2 weeks to read the book that corresponds to that challenge. So that is the difference. It's a little extra. And let me tell you what challenges those are. These, again, you're gonna be able to press on these cards on the Excel, and it will draw the challenge for you. But if you want to have this in a physical version like I'm gonna have, then you might want to write these down. Because then you're gonna have to do like little tiny mini cards like I've done. It's really cute. So let's go over the extra challenges, shall we? Oh, also, let me just clarify. If you're gonna do the physical version, before you place the cards down on your little board, make sure that you shuffle them on like a hat or something, so that when you put them down, you don't know what you're gonna get. Okay, so it's randomized. Alright, so let's go. First extra challenge is Read a book that was published before you were born. Ooh. Next. Read a book from an auto-buy author. What this means is like, it's that author that every time they publish something, you buy it, you know? That author. Whoever that is to you. Next. Read a book whose title is similar to a song. I can think of Vicious by V. Schwab. It reminds me of, well, Vicious by Sabrina Carpenter. So that's a good example. There's also Anywhere the Wind Blows by Rainbow Rowell, which is like a lyric from Bohemian Rhapsody. You know, I never know how to pronounce that. But the Queen song, you know it. Everyone knows it. So those are some examples that you could use. Then we have read a book with your favorite mythical creature. Ooh. Read a debut book. So you don't need to read a debut author, like an author who's only released their debut yet. You can read like your favorite author and read their debut as well. You know, that also works. As long as it's a book that debuted that author, it will work. Okay. Oh, next. Read a friend's favorite book. Now, if this is gonna sound really mean, I was gonna say if you don't have any friends, everyone has friends. That is not, you know, if you don't have any reader friends, then you can always ask like a parent, someone in the family that reads. It's completely up to you. And if you don't have anyone around you that reads, you can ask one of us if you want to, or you can ask someone on Discord. I'm sure someone will be more than happy to tell you their favorite book. So yeah, you got options. Next, we have read a retelling. Read a book from Goodreads' top 40 books of 2023. So you can find this list very easily online. You can just Google Goodreads top 40 2023 and it will appear. So just choose a book from that list and you'll be good. Next, read a book that a character from a show or movie has read. We actually had this on the very first edition of Minder, but we liked it a lot, so we wanted to bring it back. So there you go. Gilmore Girls, perfect show to choose, because Rory has read like 300 plus books on screen, so very easy. But obviously this is just an example. There's tons of shows and movies with characters that read, so it'll be pretty easy to find. You can even think of Isaac from Heartstopper, for example. Next, read a book that has been banned somewhere. Ooh, juicy. So my cousin was actually, when we were planning this, she was asking whether there was a list for this. There isn't a list. You can just search banned books. Like pretty much every single book has been banned in the US at some point, at like a school or something. So you can just Google it and you're gonna find some very normal books. It's not gonna be like very scandalous books all the time, you know? So it should be pretty easy to find. Next, read a book mentioned on another book. The Perks of Being a Wallflower is a good example for this, because the main character in that reads so many books throughout the story, so that's a good example. Admittedly, I cannot think of any other example, so, but you'll find them, I'm sure. Okay, next. Read a dystopian book that could happen in real life. This one's juicy. This sounds good. Next. Read a book about a sexuality you don't know much about. So this is a good opportunity to like learn more about minority groups and stuff like that as well. Then we have read a book you've seen on someone else's bookshelf. This is another one of those challenges that just keeps appearing every single year, and it's simply just because we like it. Once we like something a lot, we just keep adding it every single year. It's always fun. You could always have something different because you could look at someone else's bookshelf. You don't need to choose a bookshelf like IRL. You don't need to like look at one of our bookshelves or anything like that. You can look on like, yeah, how would you look at one of our bookshelves IRL? That didn't make any sense. You know what I mean, right? You can look at someone's bookshelf on like Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, or you can go to your parents' house and look at on their bookshelves. You know, it's very fun. You got lots of options. And lastly, the last extra challenge. I wish this didn't reflect as much the light, but if there's one thing that I am consistent every year, is the bed lighting, and this year is not a change. We are starting 2024 with just as bad of a lighting that I had last year, so last challenge is read a book set in a city you wish to visit. There we go. And that is all of the extra challenges. So now let's move on to the next one, shall we? Should we do the question mark or Jinx first? I feel like we're gonna do Jinx first. So there's not gonna be as many cards for Jinx because it only appears on the board once right here. So we only have seven Jinx cards. These are like the extra challenges. There are extra challenges technically. They are just not as nice. They are kind of meant to put you outside your comfort zone, you know? So they're not super nice challenges, but I believe in us and we can do this, okay? So let's go over these. Oh, oops, okay, it just fell. Oh, also a thing that I didn't mention with the extra challenges and with these, but I'm gonna mention now, is you can choose whether you want to do the challenges or not. So you can opt out of doing that challenge if you want to. Like, there's not a consequence. Like, if you don't do a Jinx challenge, you're not gonna lose points or anything like that. That doesn't happen. You just kind of lose the opportunity to gain an extra point, because as some of you might be aware, the way you gain points on Minder is every book you read, you get 1 point, and every challenge you complete, you get 1 point. So let's imagine that you go over the board, you go around the board 7 times, right? If you did every single Jinx challenge, you would have the opportunity to get 7 extra points, because it would be 1 point for every single challenge that you complete, right? But if you opt out of making one of the challenges, then now you can only gain 6 extra points. Does that make sense? So you don't really lose anything, you just lose your chance to make more points, basically, but you don't lose the points that you already have. We do have something that does that, but it's not here. It's not here yet. So, oh, also for the Jinx challenges, just like for the extra challenges, you have 2 weeks to complete it. So let's go over the Jinx challenges. I promise they're not as scary as they sound. They're really not that bad. So first one. Oh, this one is actually the least worst one. We just added it because it's so difficult to find. It is read a book by an author with your zodiac sign. It sounds easy. It's not that easy to know authors' zodiac signs, so that is just a complicated one. But that was like the easiest one out of all of them, I'm sorry. Next one. Read a book your friend hated. That's gonna be fun. Then we have open Goodreads and read the first book you see that you haven't read yet. So how this works is, you're legitimately gonna open your Goodreads. If you don't use Goodreads, then you can open whatever app you use. If you don't use any app to track your books, then you can open Instagram or TikTok and you just scroll until you see a book appear. The first book you see, if you haven't read that book, so it's like the first book you see that you haven't read, you need to read it. If it is like the second one on the series or the third one on a series, then you can read the first one. If you haven't read the first one on the series, we're not gonna force you to read the second one on a series without reading the first one, you know? So if it's a series, you choose the first one or whichever one you haven't read on that series yet. And if it is a standalone or something else, then you just read the first one that you see that you haven't read. Okay, next one we have read a book with an unremovable sticker on the cover. Ooh. This one is just annoying. So if you probably already have a book in your house that has one of those unremovable stickers. Oh, I have one here. What a good example. You cannot take it out. So one of these, so you're gonna read one of those. If you don't have a book in your house with an unremovable sticker, you're gonna have to go and buy one. Which is, you see what I'm saying? It's just annoying. It's just an annoying challenge. But you see why it's the Jinx? It's just not that nice. So there we have it. Honestly, in my opinion, I think it's just funny. So that is partially why we chose it. Next, we have read a book from a genre you don't like. This goes back into the putting you outside of your comfort zone, because maybe you don't like, if you're like me, you don't like horror, for example. And by having to read horror, you're giving horror a second chance. So you're being put outside your comfort zone, but at the end, it might be beneficial for you because you might end up finding out that you love it. Like you thought you didn't like it, but maybe it was just a one-off, so could be good. Next one, we have read a book that is over 500 pages long. Yeah, so one of the big, for who has big book fear, it's certainly a Jinx. And lastly, we have read a book by an author you said you would never read. Yikes. I'm gonna make a video about this, about authors that I'm not planning on reading ever. I cannot just sneak my way out of this challenge, so look forward for that. And those are the Jinx challenges. Now let's move on to the last one on here, besides the help, but the help is the last one, But let's move on to the question mark. What are question marks? These are mystery challenges. These do not really tell you what to read. They don't make you look for a book in your house to read per se. It kind of just tells you how to read. And opposed to the Jinx challenges and the extra challenges, where you need to complete those in 2 weeks, these are to be completed on the day. So I would advise that if you land on one of those, one of those squares, take the challenge at night, so you know what you need to do the day after. Because if you take it on the same day that you're gonna do it, you might have some problems, and you're gonna see why very soon. So let's go over them, shall we? Alright, we have today you can only read books by an author whose nationality is different than yours. So this kind of sounds like we're making you read new books, but it's really not kind of that. It's like, just choose a book, unless you're not reading any book that whose author is different nationality. I mean, for us it wouldn't really be a problem because we mostly read in English and we're Portuguese, so we really wouldn't have too much of a problem. But it's supposed to be easy to find, and it's only for that day, so if you want to DNF the book right afterwards, you feel free to. You'd still gain the point. So that's the first one. Next, we have today you can only read standalone books. Next, today you can only read books that are part of a series. Next, this one is one of the good examples that is it's good to take the day before, just so you have time. Ask your friend which of your currently reading books you should read. The book they choose is the only book you can read today. Next, we have today you can only listen to audiobooks. Claudia was actually a little concerned about this, because it's not as easy to find, but there are a lot of audiobooks on YouTube. There are a lot of audiobooks that are public domain as well that are easy to find. You can get a free audiobook if you if you register on certain audiobook platforms, you get a free month and a free book to listen on that month. Spotify is also gonna have audiobooks. I know they're already available in like the US and in Canada. It's not available here yet, so I don't know if it's available everywhere. Well, clearly it's not available everywhere yet, so I don't know if it will be available in where you live, but Spotify is gonna do that as well. They're gonna add audiobooks, and if you have Spotify Premium, you can listen, I think it's up to 16 hours free every month of audiobooks, so that's also a very good option. Next, we have today you need to start a new book. Okay, this is the only one, I promise, that we're gonna make you physically pick up a new book. This is the only one. We had to add this. We just had to. But again, you can DNF at the end of the day if you want to, and you still get the point. Then we have today, you can only read ebooks. And there's gonna be this one. Today, you can only read physical books. So that goes with like the audiobooks, ebooks. Today, you can only read while you're eating. So you see why I was saying it's better to take the day before, like at night, so you know what you need to do the day after. It's because imagine you wake up. You go and have your breakfast. You didn't read while having breakfast. And then you go and you take a challenge. Oh no, I can only read while I was eating. Damn it, you know? So it's always better to take the day before, the night before. Next, we have today you can only read in the morning. Today you can only read at night. Today you can only read books whose author is the same nationality as yours. Today you can only read outside. Today you can only read in bed. And lastly, today you can only read books you've already started. So there we have it. Those are the mystery challenges. And you need to finish them on the day. Now, what happens if you don't want to make them? Now, these are the only ones that have a consequence if you don't finish them. So if you don't manage to finish one of these challenges that day, you're gonna need to take a Jinx card. Yeah, I know. And if you don't finish, like after you take the Jinx card, you have 2 weeks to complete it. If you don't complete it in 2 weeks, then you lose 2 points. That is the only time that you're gonna lose points. These are a little tricky, but I promise they seem intimidating, but they're not that difficult to do. And in case this sounds very, very difficult, we can move on to help. Is my camera gonna focus? I don't know. Help. So what is this about? These are limited. There are only 12 cards, 12 help cards, and that is because you can only take one per month. So you cannot take more, and after you take a card, for example, I take this card now for January. If I don't use it by the end of January, I cannot accumulate it with the one from February. So if I don't use it until the end of the month, it's out of the race, you know? Can't use it anymore. You can choose when to use it. So you can take it like at the beginning of the month and save it until you need to use it. Or you can even choose not to use it at all. You don't need to use it if you don't want to, but it does help sometimes. So here are the helps that you might get. Get out. Oh, there's 3 of these actually. Are they all in a row? No, they're not. Wait, is this? Okay, there's gonna be 3 of these, so you can write this one 3 times. Get out a challenge free and still get the point. So you could technically use this for this, right? For the Jinx. So if you couldn't do the you couldn't do the mystery challenge, and then you take out a Jinx, and you don't want to do the Jinx, you could technically use this help on here and not do it and still get the point, and you wouldn't lose any points. So there's a little help for you. Then we have, I need to preface this by saying that I wrote a few of these descriptions while I was still trying to get well from a cold. Not even a cold, it was a flu. You can probably still kind of hear it in my voice. I'm still not completely 100% well. So these are very silly. But isn't everything on this channel? I'm literally wearing a Jungkook shirt. Like, this channel is not serious, okay? It is so unserious. So, the next help we have is, and for people who don't come to my live streams, this is gonna sound so weird. Are you Merobiba? Feeling derpy today? Perhaps a little under the weather? I have 1 bonus point for doing such a good job existing. You got this, bestie. So that's what I meant with Goofy, you know? It just happens. Then we have, don't like the challenge you just drew? Take another one without any consequence. Next, we have, haven't finished any books this week? If you finish one next week, you get 1 extra point. Another one is, this challenge sucks. This card lets you skip the challenge and still get a point. Are you tired? The next book you finish is worth an extra point. We have a get out of jail free card. This card allows you to skip a mystery card without losing points. So again, you could use it for this. Then we have, it's that time of the year, vacation, at last. Any challenge you finish this week, you get an extra point. It's the weekend, time to take it easy. This card allows you to skip a Jinx challenge and still get its points. That's a pretty good deal to me. Sounds like a pretty good deal. Do we have, couldn't read today? That's okay. Any book you finish tomorrow, you get an extra point. And and then it's the 2 other ones that we're missing. The get out a challenge free and still get the point. So those are the help cards. As you can see, the mystery challenges sounded a little bit menacing at first, but now probably not so much, right? I think we're gonna be okay. So, what is this? Am I actually doing that? I don't know. A new player enters the chat. That's how I wrote on the PDF. I don't know if I'm actually gonna edit that. But if I did, what is this? Lightning challenge. Woo, what is that? So let's talk about lightning challenges. Lightning challenges are gonna pop up randomly throughout the year. Like at the moment, we don't have any planned besides the birthday challenge, which I will talk about in a second. But the lightning challenge, they're just like pop-up challenges that I will put on my Instagram stories and on Discord, so you need to keep an eye out for that. You won't lose any points if you don't make them. It's completely okay. And it will just be like an extra challenge. Usually the challenge will have like extra points, like do this and get 3 extra points, for example. And the time that you have to finish them will also be different for every single one. I will let you know on Discord and on Instagram how much time you have to complete every single one. So with that in mind, let's talk about the birthday lightning challenge. It's your birthday? Oh my god, why didn't you say so? Happy birthday, bestie. So if today is your birthday, any book you finish today, you get an extra point. If your birthday was on the first few days of January, while this video was not out yet, just do it. Oh, hello. Okay, just do the challenge tomorrow. Okay, we allow it. It's like a late birthday. What am I missing? I feel like I'm missing something at this point, but I don't know what. Am I just missing the point system? Or am I missing something else? Oh, the rules. Right. Let's talk about rules first. I feel like this is important. So, the rules for Minder have changed slightly since last year. The biggest change is that children books, like picture books, the ones that are like for really tiny kids, the ones that are mostly like just drawings and like 1 sentence per page, you know, the ones that are like 32 pages long, are now banned on Minder. So you can read them if you want to, but they will not count for Minder. They are banned. Then just like last year, you can only count books that have an ISBN. So stuff like fan fiction, science articles, journals, I don't know, journal articles. If they don't have an ISBN, it does not count. Okay, it does not count for Minder. Same thing goes for school manuals. Even though school manuals sometimes have ESBNs, I think most of the times they have ESBNs, they will not count. This is mostly just because we want to track on Minder the books that you read for pleasure and not the books that you're reading as an obligation for school or university or anything like that, you know? On that same point to do with ESBNs, you can still read graphic novels that are on Webtoon or on typos, but the books only count once they have an ESBN. So for example, Lore Olympus, which is on Webtoon right now, it has, I don't even know how many episodes on Webtoon, but it's more than the books that are out. There are 6 books out for Lore Olympus, and that is not even half of the amount of episodes that is on Webtoon. So if you read the other episodes that haven't been released as a book yet, they wouldn't count. But if you read Lore Olympus Volume 1, which is the very first few episodes on Webtoon, you could count it. Does that make sense? I hope it makes sense. So for now, you could read Heartstopper Volume 5 on Webtoon and it would count, but Volume 6, you couldn't. Not that Alice has posted Volume 6 on there yet, but I'm sure they're gonna start soon, so yes. The last big change that we've done this year is that you can only use a book per challenge. So last year, we would let you use the same book for multiple challenges. This year, we don't. I think it's mostly because we have less initial challenges and just because we want to promote you reading. So we're not going to allow that this year. I'm sorry. We're just making your life a little tiny bit more difficult. To be fair, this does look very intimidating, but oh, is it going to focus? No, it isn't. Hello. There we are. Oh, it's upside down. It looks very intimidating, but to be fair, you move at your own pace. If you only read 2 books this year and you end up here, that's so good. That's great. If you're reading something, that's already a huge win for us. So just try and have fun. Really. It might look intimidating, but it really isn't. It accommodates to you. It accommodates to your reading style and your reading habits. So just have fun. That's all we want. In fact, that's a rule. Have fun. And now let's talk finally about the point system, which is very, very important. Okay, so the point system, don't mind me, I'm just looking at my sheet here on the side because I don't know everything in my brain. So, like last year, every book you finish, it counts 1 point. So, I read this, blah, 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 I finished this, 1 point. Then, if I was reading this for a challenge, and I finished the challenge as well by, reading this, you get a point for finishing the challenge as well. So 1 point per book finished, 1 point for challenge finished. We've changed kind of this. We had this slightly last year where if the books had more than 500 pages, you would get 1 extra point. This year we changed it. So this year it's going to be, if the book has more than 400 pages, you start counting 1 extra point every 100 pages. So the way that works is, if a book has between 0 to 399 pages, it counts 1 point once you finish it. If the book has between 400 and 499 pages, then you count 1 point for finishing the book plus 1 point for the extra pages. So if it has between 500 pages, 599 pages, then you count 1 point for finishing, 2 extra points for the 100 pages extra. Does that make sense? And so on and so forth. If a book has 1,000 pages, it's 6 points extra. So you just keep adding to it. Then, every time you do a full lap of this, so you start here, if you go like this and you do a full lap, or if you go like that and you do a full lap, every time you do a full lap, you get 2 extra points. If you finish all of the 12 initial challenges, you get 3 extra points. And then lastly, when you finish your Goodreads reading goal of the year, Doesn't need to be Goodreads necessarily. Again, if you don't use Goodreads or any reading platform, if you just set your reading goal, if you say like this year I'm gonna read 50 books, you know? Once you've read 50 books, you get 12 extra points. Now, the way this is gonna work is you can only count it once, okay? You can only count it once. So if you're one of those people that like changes that reading challenge halfway through the year, like your goal was 50 and you've read 50 and it's only like June or July and you change it to like 70 or something, you cannot count it twice. Even though you hit your goal twice, technically, you cannot count it twice, okay? You can only count the 12 points once. And that is the point system. That is how it works. Now you might be wondering, why is there a point system to begin with if this isn't a competition? It's just fun. It's just fun to keep track of what you're reading and like actually put some weight to it. At least for us it is fun, so I'm hoping that it's fun for you as well. I've also been debating, I'm not sure if I'm gonna do this, but I've been debating whether we should give something to whoever has the most points at the end, but I still don't know, so I'm gonna think more about it and I will keep you updated on Discord as always. And yeah, this is Minder for this year. I hope you're just as excited as we are. And happy reading, everyone. Happy reading, and have fun. This reflects so much on this game board. It's like, wow, it's shining like the sun. Anyways, I also, before I forget to mention and before I finish this video, I've added extra channels on my Discord for Minder. So if you have any questions, you can ask on there. If you want, I'm gonna also have a channel where I put all of the printables. So I'm gonna have a printable of this in case you don't want to draw it yourself. There's gonna be printables for this and for the cards, so you don't need to worry about doing an arts and crafts if you want to have the physical version. The Excel is also going to be on there. The PDF, it's also going to be on there. So there's going to be a channel just with those things, and then there's going to be a channel for questions, a channel just for you to chat amongst yourselves and with us if you want to. I think there's something else on there, but I don't remember personally. I know there's another channel. I have no idea what it is. But anyways, there's new channels on there, so you can keep updated and it'll be very easy to find everything. So if you haven't already, join the Discord. Again, it's on the description. If you don't want to, you obviously don't need to. You can just do this for fun, like incognito and anonymously, whatever you prefer. And yeah, this is gonna be the video for today. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you, well, hopefully next week with the new video. We will see. And if you like this video, feel free to like and subscribe and hit the notification bell. It will tell you when I go live and when I post a new video, and it helps me out a lot. And with that, I'm going to go. Goodbye, everyone. Bye-bye.